let's go ahead and jump into our first segment here where we are going to preview a little bit of the Pittsburgh Panthers. Chris, how do you think the Yins are going to do this year?
Well, no, I'll talk a little bit about last year. I think I'll talk about even the year before last year. I think these guys got like 20 wins. Pat Narduzzi does. He's their head coach. He's done a great job there. He's been there for a while. But last year, 9-4, man. I think the year before that was when they had the Kenny Pickett, Jordan Addison years. I think they won 11 games, if I'm not mistaken, that year and had a really breakout season there for the Panthers. But 9-4 last year, like I said, finished 22 in the AP poll. That's not bad. 5-3 in conference. 31.3 points per game last year on offense. That put them at 45th in the country to finish the season. The defense gave up 24.3 points a game. That's not terrible. That was 51st in the country. Strength of schedule at 62. They lost 7 players in the NFL draft off last year's team. That's my big question mark this year with the Panthers, and I'll let you kick over some of the players here, Christian. But that's a big deal to me and the Panthers looking forward here this year. I like I said, I'll let you. I know how you get real deep into the stats here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you said it best, Chris. I mean, 20 wins over the last 2 years. I mean, back-to-back finishes in the top 25. Pat Narduzzi, to me, he's one of those consistent coaches, right? I mean, he's just been very consistent there at Pitt. And he's done all that while losing some major talent on both sides of the ball. To me, and this is where I get really interested in this, on the offensive side of the ball, is you get journeyman quarterback Phil Jurkovec, who's going to be coming back, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. He started off as a very highly touted prospect at Notre Dame, okay? Due to not playing consistently. So he basically didn't get a chance to really play all that much. He played a little bit here and there at Notre Dame. I think that was back when they had Ian Book, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
He ended up transferring to Boston College. When he was at Boston College, obviously he had some up and down play there, and he was injured a little bit too, right? So, here's the thing, man. Jurkovec, he's coming home to Pitt. He's a Pitt guy. He's going to have to replace a guy that was in a tough situation in Keaton Slovis. To me, Slovis wasn't terrible, but he also wasn't great either. That's just the things I'm kind of looking at with this. Here's the other interesting part of this, Chris, too. I've kind of been digging deep into the Pittsburgh Panthers. He gets to reunite with his former coordinator, Frank Signetti Jr., who he had at Boston College during his best year there. Okay, so his best year there was under Frank Signetti.
Gotcha.
It's an easy transition. I think it'll be pretty good for him. They're going to have to improve their passing offense, though, because they saw a huge dip with the loss of Pickett, Jordan Addison, and Mark Whipple. They fell all the way. I think they were top 3 or top 5 in passing offense 2 years ago. Oh, yeah. They fell all the way down to 78 in terms of passing offense last year. Chris, I'll kind of kick it back over to you to kind of get some more of your thoughts.
Yeah, no, you bring up some good points. Like I said, Jurkovec, he just, you said the word perfectly. That's the word I was going to use to describe. He's been very inconsistent, especially those years at Boston College. I think he's a capable quarterback, but a lot of their success, if you will, this year depends a lot on him. If he plays well, and I'm not saying he's got to be a world beater. I'm not saying he's got to go out there and have the year that Kenny Pickett had, right? We remember that 2021 season, Christian, where Pickett was slinging the ball all over the place, and that's why he's starting with the Steelers on his sophomore season this year. But the big thing is, they lost some key pieces last year with a 9-4 record. 9-4 ain't bad at all, But what I get out of this year is more than anything, Christian, is they did their last year. Excuse me. I think they finished the season number 2 in sacks per game last year. Their defense, I think they were averaging almost 4, which is amazing. I think Nebraska as a whole had maybe 4 the whole year. No, I do. I think if they can, and they bring 5 starters back, on the defense, if they can keep that together. And this is the ACC. They play in a conference where I think there's 2 teams that are really, really good in the ACC, and that would be obviously Clemson and Florida State, who I'm really, really high on this year. North Carolina's in that mix, Christian. We haven't talked about them a lot this year, but they should be solid under Mac Brown again with, Drake May coming back. But Pitt's got a chance in that division to really do something this year, Christian. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on, I know you're probably going to break down a little bit of defensive stats here, but I mean, just Pitt's a very interesting team to me. I think this is one of the reasons why we kind of decided to do, covered these guys because I don't think they get enough coverage. And Pat Narduzzi, he's in his 9th year, Christian. He's been a very consistent, good coach.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're exactly right, Chris. I mean, I think one of the things you're touching on there is, with all that, they lost a lot of talent the year prior. I think on the offensive side of the ball, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that too. Yes.
Last year, they lost, or this year, they lost a bunch of production on the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
Really all over the field. One of the things when we talk about loss of production, Chris, they did lose a 1,400-yard back rushing, not all purpose, 1,400-yard back last year in Israel. Not going to try to pronounce his last name. Sorry, Pitt fans. They don't pay me enough out here to do this. I'm the one that pays me, so don't worry about it. But they're going to replace him with Rodney Hammond Jr., who's very capable. He had close to 500 yards rushing last year and 5 touchdowns. So I think Rodney Hammond's very capable of doing, what needs to be done and picking up some of that slack. In the receiving room, they are going to have to replace a 1,000-yard receiver in Jared Wayne. Jared Wayne, when they lost Jordan Addison, a lot of people were like, how can he step up? I think he stepped up and he did a great job
last year.
Yeah. So they're going to have to look to Florida transfer Dejon Reynolds to pair nicely with Kanata Mumfield, Bub Means, and tight end Gavin Bartholomew. So I think they'll have a pretty decent group of pass catchers, man. They've got some people, that can absolutely go out and catch the ball and give, Phil Dracovic a good chance out there. The O-line should be good as well. They returned 3 starters. I think they had a combined 84 starts amongst them. So they've got a really good shot there, Chris, to do something good on offense and maybe take another couple steps forward this year on offense.
No, you hit the nail on the head, Christian. I want to argue with you, but maybe we'll argue on the end of the year's record here. But I'm with you, man. Like I said, it's funny because their offense lost a lot of pieces in 21, 22. They lost some guys off the defensive side of the ball. But I don't expect. I kind of hold Pat Narduzzi in a weird way to a pretty high standard, man. I feel like they're going to get it done again this year. The ACC is very top heavy in a couple teams. Pitt's not an easy place to play at either, by the way. I mean, they got a nice home record there at home. So like they're tough. They're kind of a smash mouth, old school kind of football team most of the time too, except for that 21 season where, of course they slinged the ball all over the field.
Oh, 100%, Chris. Another thing you bring up Pat Narduzzi, and I kind of want to touch on this. It's funny because you look at Pat Narduzzi, he kind of got that Dabo element to him. You know what I mean? He's not afraid to talk. Speak his mind, so to say.
No, you remember? I think it was last year. You know how we talked about Trent Dilfer at UAB or whatever about other coaches poaching players, right? Pat Narduzzi called out. God, who the hell was it? Was it Nick Saban or something?
It was Dion, I think. It was recently too. Maybe. Yeah.
He did. No, you're right. It was with the Dion thing, and then it was Lincoln Riley about the Jordan Addison thing. He got pissed about it. And he had, like you said, got the little Dabo Sweeney effect going on. He ain't afraid to you put a mic in front of him, man. He ain't afraid to say what he really thinks. I kind of like that about him, man. He's a good guy, man.
To put it bluntly for Yins, he talks a lot of shit, but he backs it up, and I like that. I like that in a coach. He's not backing it up necessarily with winning national championships or competing for a playoffs, but he's doing something very respectable in the ACC, and I like that, dude.
Yep. No,
Chris, we talk about it, and we're going to kind of transition over to the defense here. When we're looking at this, they ranked. You said it already, but they ranked second last year in sacks. They also ranked number 23 in total defense last year. Nice. Pat Narduzzi, he always has good defenses, right? And I expect nothing less this year from him. Nope. However, he did lose 6 starters from last year's team. I would say most notably was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, Kalijah Cansey.
Yep. Stud.
Stud. Absolute stud. He's faster than you are, Chris. He weighs 300 pounds.
Yeah, no, he's a beast. You do know the other stud that used to play there on defense. His name is Aaron Darnold. He kind of looks like you.
Well, I mean, a little bit. You know what I mean? He's got a little while to go before he gets quite up to this level of mass that I've been cultivating. Thank you for that.
You're right. Yeah, you'll never hear that again, Aaron Donald and you ever put the same sentence. But here we are.
No. They're going to look to lean on defensive tackle David Green up front. He's going to be the leader of that defensive line. I think he's going to step up and have them playing right. At linebacker, they do get 2 seniors back in Bengali Kamara and Shane Simon. They're going to look to return, and I think they're going to take their gameplay up to that next level. The strength of this unit, and it is really without doubt, the cornerback positions. They return MJ Devonshire, Marquise Williams, and AJ Woods, Chris. They're all going to be locked in, ready to go here. I originally had put, when I started doing my research, the biggest question mark was both safety spots for me. I think Philip O'Brien is going to be one of those really good free safeties for him. I was watching him in the spring game. He kind of was flying up, making some plays. He always was finding the ball, so they're going to be really good with him. But that other safety spot, they kind of have to figure out there. They kind of have a couple options, and that's really what I want to see, how they kind of do that, right? The biggest thing, and we talk about this almost every single week, I feel like, with any team that we cover, is if your front seven can cause havoc, I really like your chances. That's the easiest way if you've got a weak back end in the secondary.
Absolutely.
That's the easiest way to cover it up, is if you can cause havoc up front.
Nope, 100% agree. Like I said, man, like I said, we'll get into the record prediction. I'm assuming here shortly, but no, I do think that defense. I think they finished second in sacks per game this year. Probably not. That's tough to duplicate. But I will say, I actually think overall their defense, possibly could be better this year. And if they are, and like I said, the big question comes down to quarterback play on the other side of the ball, Christian. If he's even, I don't want to use the word serviceable. That's thrown around a lot. But Pitt's going to be right in the mix, man. Right in the mix.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, with that being said, let's kind of jump into our record prediction for them. Where are you at? Where do you got Pitt this year, Chris?
There we go. Here's the thing with Pitt, man. I always say this when we do our record predictions, but I do go through this when we know we're talking about a team, and I do some research here. Obviously, we're not going to talk about Wolford. Cincinnati is going to be really down this year, I think. West Virginia, I think, is one of the worst teams in the ACC this year. They got a lot of pressure on their head coach over there, too, to win. He's probably on one of the hottest of hot seats there is in college football, Christian. The North Carolina game is very, very interesting to me for Pitt. North Carolina is very good on offense, not so good on defense most years. But this was a tough one for me, but I'm going to give North Carolina the nod. God, even though it's at home for Pittsburgh, this one's a tough one. Vautech, I'm going to pencil a win there. I think that game could be kind of tough, though. Vautech's not the easiest place to play in the world. Louisville's another one of those, Christian, that we've talked about a little bit here and there. I think they're going to be solid this year. They do bring back a lot on that team as well. I'll just break this down a little bit further here. I'll keep going through these other teams before I give my actual prediction. But Wake Forest, not overly worried about them with Sam Hartman playing at the next team we're talking about at Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame wins that one. Florida State, obviously I'm ultra high on them. I got Florida State pretty much running the table this year. I know my FSU fans fear the spear, baby. Here we are. Syracuse, Boston College, Duke, guys. Here's my thing. I have Pitt penciled in. I'm kind of torn, Christian, between 8-4 and 9-3, and that's where I'm at. And I don't know if that surprises you. I know you're going to get either cry or yell at me, one of the two, here in a minute. But I think the losses for me are going to be Notre Dame and Florida State for sure. I'm going to pencil in that North Carolina one, but that Louisville game to me is I'm on the fence with that one, and I'm also on the if it's not Louisville, Christian, I know nobody talks about Duke. I know that. I know their season last year, everybody says was PUD. They didn't play anybody. Had a tremendous season last year. But if they slip up somewhere in there, and we could say and if or but, and I get that, but I'm leaning on 8 or 9 wins with Pitt this year, which I think is a good record. I don't expect anything less than 8. I will put that out on the table, Christian. I want to hear your thoughts. And what do you got here? You're gonna blow me away with like a 10-2 season or a 6-6?
Man, listen, I would love to disagree with you, but I actually put him at 8-4 as well. We don't agree often. We don't confer on this list before we do this. By the way, let's make sure if you're a Pitt fan, be sure to comment down below. Like the video, comment, and tell us what do you think Pitt's going to do.
Christian, if you don't mind if I jump in on that, I want to hear more about Pittsburgh fans. I feel like they're a team that's slept on a lot in college football, Christian. And maybe it's because I'm out here in the Midwest, and so are you now. But it's like, Pittsburgh fans, please let us know more about your team and what you guys think. I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, Yins, get your ass in the comment. I think that's what they say. I don't know, but we'd love to hear from you either way. Chris, I've got them at 8-4. I've got them at 8-4. I got losses to UNC, FSU, Notre Dame, and a surprise loss somewhere along the way here. I could see a scenario where they win 9 games, but I could also see just as much a scenario where they win 7 games too. I know you said there's no way they lose more than 8.
I don't think so.
Well, let me throw this out here at you because I guarantee you didn't really touch on them that much. When I was looking through their schedule, I kind of wanted to just double check something here. And, when I was looking through the schedule, I wanted to double check this. I was looking at Cincinnati. Dude, Cincinnati is a surprise team to me this year. Yeah, I know you're shaking your head no, but listen. Do you know who Cincinnati's quarterback is, Chris?
Who the hell did they get over there? Who is it?
They got former Florida quarterback Emory Jones.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, that kid's talented. Right? He's talented. He can do something. They lost a shit ton of people, and they bring him in a bunch of transfers, so it's very hard to figure out what Cincinnati's going to do. But they also have Coach Scott Satterfield. Scott Satterfield, former Louisville coach. He's coached in this conference for a little bit, so I think he kind of relishes in those smaller opportunities. He was at App State and did some good things there. Chris, this isn't about Cincinnati. This is about Pitt, and this is what I'm going to say. If they can get past Cincinnati and they can get past West Virginia, you're absolutely right. You touched on it, where West Virginia has an opportunity this year with Neil Brown. They have to do something. They literally have to do something. Winning that game for West Virginia would be huge for that fan base. So they're going to probably...
That's the backyard brawl, right? That's their big one, right? Like you guys are with the Gators over there.
100%. It's not been much of a brawl as of late.
Oh, Florida fans. Anytime I can get anything in on them, I will.
No, I think Pitt's going to be just fine this year, Chris. I mean, I think overall Pittsburgh does get enough production back. Here's the thing, to stay relevant this year, right? To stay relevant and have a good season. But their schedule also does get a little bit tougher as well. Again, they've got to play Florida State, Notre Dame. You've got UNC, which, they played UNC last year as well. Daniel says in the comments here, he's got them beating Duke, but also losing to Wake Forest. Okay. There's a couple of games in here, and I've kind of watched a lot of other people when they do their breakdown saying they might be lucky to win 5 or 6 games this year.
That surprises me, man.
Well, and I think
I will say this. Sorry to interrupt you, though, Christian, but Vegas. I don't like. I feel like I'm the guy that brings up Vegas, but I do bet quite a bit college football. Vegas has them at 6.5, so that's one of those. Yeah, that's barely qualifying for a bowl game. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. Now, who does Vegas play for, or do they coach somebody, or remind me again?
They don't either. But what I will say, though, Christian, they tend to make a lot of money and keep building casinos, though, as I keep saying. So I think they do all right. Like I said, I'm the guy going way over on that. I'm going 8 wins this year with Pitt, man. I really am. I'm high on them, man.
I know. I'm just giving you a little bit of shit. Listen, Vegas is taking
for you too, because you just brought up a Florida quarterback playing at Cincinnati, and whatever.
Hey, he was smart enough to leave. All right, he knew what he was doing. Saw the writing on the wall. He couldn't read it, but by God, neither could I. Hey, so listen here, Chris. I think that again, I think we're kind of right on here. 8-4, 9-3, 7-5, somewhere in that general area. And I think most Yens would probably be pretty happy.
Yeah. Well, like I said, guys, let us know, Pittsburgh fans. Let us know. Let us know why we're wrong, why we're right, or why Christian's overweight. Either way, let us know. So